The book Julius Malema doesn't want you to see, so says veteran author and journalist Jacques Pauw about his new title, Our Poisoned Land, in which he makes explosive allegations about the leader of the economic freedom fighters, including that he was plied with booze and bags of money by his controversial friend Adriano Mazzotti. The book further suggests that Julius Malema and his inner circle hosted parties at expensive hotels where, after evidence of white powder, condoms, bottles of alcohol, and even women's underwear were found. Jacques Pauw joins us now on the line to talk us through this book. Thank you for your time this morning, Jacques. And of course, the EFF have sent you a lawyer's letter asking you to withdraw this book. They dispute the claims you make about their leaders.
Good morning. Yes. Well, we've expected a letter from them since the publishing of the book. What they said in the letter, which they sent to us on Monday morning, is that if we don't remove the book from the shelves by 5 p.m. on Monday, they will consider their options, which include asking the courts for relief by applying for an urgent court interdict, which never happened. So I suppose the next step will be for Malema and Shivambu and whoever in the EFF to sue me for defamation. And then, in 2 years' time or whenever it is, we will head to court and we will fight this out. We believe we have good evidence. We believe that Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu have a case to answer. There's nothing new in allegations about handouts to Malema. We all know about the VBS bank scandal. We all remember the On Point event in Limpopo in the early 2000s, 2012, around there. So allegations of Malema leading a high life, living off the handouts of people, that's nothing new. On the other hand, we know that Adriano Mazzotti, who's a cigarette manufacturer, that he has no qualms in bribing people. He's admitted to that in an affidavit he made in 2014. He's a self-confessed tobacco smuggler. So let's go to court and let's see what happens.
The key source of your information is a former housekeeper and a chef who worked for Mazzotti. The housekeeper named Margaret, that's the name you've chosen, right, to protect her identity. They're saying, look, how can you rely on the word of a disgruntled, fired employee?
She's number one. She's not disgruntled. And in Mazzotti's reply, in Mazzotti's comment to News 24 on Friday, he said that Margaret, as I call her, that Margaret was fired and that she stole money from clients. Now, in fact, Margaret was dismissed by Carnelings, the cigarette company. She was dismissed by Mazzotti and Carnelings in August 2018 for indolence and subordination because she swore at a manager. She was never dismissed for dishonesty. There is nothing on her record to suggest that she had ever stolen anything. In fact, after she was dismissed, she headed to the CCMA. She laid a complaint against Carnelings, and she won that complaint. She was paid out by the company. So she's not disgruntled. I mean, she won her CCMA case. The Malawi. Now, first of all, Margaret made the allegations, and she put this in 2 affidavits that she made. I then traveled to Malawi to go and look for the Malawian chef that worked for Mazzotti in 2014. There is no link between him and Margaret, and he independently confirmed the allegations. So we're talking about 2 witnesses. We're talking about witnesses who made statements and affidavits. There's no question that they worked for Mazzotti and Carnelings. So I think there is certainly evidence to support the allegations.
Well, here's one for you. I mean, far be it from me to lecture you about journalism, but you didn't put any of what you allege to your subjects. Isn't a right of reply a foundational tenet of what we do, Jacques?
Yes, but first of all, remember that this is not a newspaper or a news site. This is a book, and books are not subject to the press code. But even if I say yes, we are subjected to the press code specifically makes provision that it is not necessary to ask your subject for comment if you fear that the publication of the allegations might be jeopardized by an urgent court application, or that the life of your subject might be in danger. And that's why we didn't go to Mazzotti and Malema.
All
We
right.
knew that once the allegations hit the newspapers or the news sites, they will have ample opportunity to comment.
Right, here we go. Your soft underbelly, I suppose, will be your own failures, the restaurant incident in Cape Town for which you've apologized, but they're already bringing that up as a reason we shouldn't trust you and as a reason to question your credibility.
I am not making these allegations. I'm merely the messenger in this case. The allegations are being made by two people who have independently made affidavits. I'm merely the messenger in this case. And yes, I mean there was an incident at the waterfront. I mean, I've apologized for it. I've said what happened. And I don't think there's much more to say
All right.
about it. I mean, I discussed the incident in my book. I once again apologize. And I failed. I failed during the time that it happened, and I'm very sorry about it.
To be clear, of course, this book is about much more than Malema. In it, you explain, for example, about how much of our law enforcement is still doing the bidding of criminal overlords.
Yeah, what I try to do in this book, and there's so much information available out there, especially because of the State Capture Commission. I went and I explored and I examined and I investigated, for example, the performance of the Hawks. And I asked myself, why is our crime rate going up quarter after quarter after quarter? Why is South Africa becoming a more unsafe place to live in every day? When Cyril Ramaphosa came to power in February 2018, he promised that he's going to halve the crime rate within 10 years. Well, nearly 5 years after he came to power, the crime rate is going up and up and up. So what is wrong in the police? And I dig into the Hawks and I ask the question, why are they operating only on 50% capacity? Why is it that those people, those officers, those generals who were appointed during the Zuma years, why are they still in their positions? What is going on at police crime intelligence? Why is it that there are generals sitting in crime intelligence who have had disciplinary charges against them for almost a decade and absolutely nothing has happened? And I'm afraid, my book doesn't carry good. It's not good news. I don't think the crime rate
Yeah.
is going to improve. I don't think it's going to come down. I think South Africa is becoming more unsafe, more unsafe. We've got, as a complete failure, a Minister of Police, Bheki Cele. And I think the sadness is that despite the fact that Ramaphosa made such a good start in 2018, he has put the unity of the ANC before the well-being of the country.
All right, Jacques,
And that's why
I'm going to ask you to stay on the line because, of course, listening to us and this conversation is Sinawo Tambo, who's the national spokesperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters.
702.
702. Right of reply.
All right, so now thank you for your time this morning. You've heard what Jacques Pauw has had to say. In this response of yours, haven't you perhaps given him the best PR he could have hoped for?
No, I don't think there's any amount of PR that could salvage the reputation of Jacques Pauw. And listening to him, it reaffirms our suspicion that it is gossip being peddled by someone who has peddled lies before to the public. And I mean, the problem that I think we have as the EFF, primarily with what Jacques Pauw is doing, is that he's going after the morality of the leadership of the EFF. So he's not going after the ability of the EFF to govern. He's not going after the propensity of the EFF to either be anti-corruption or corrupt or not. But he's peddling to us unverified information, untrue information from so-called sources which worked for Adriano Mazzotti a couple of years ago, almost half a decade ago. And we are supposed to take this as truth. And I don't think his concern or interest is that the public must believe what he's saying. It is to smear the name of the president of the EFF, smear the name of the leadership of the EFF with an allegation that doesn't necessarily have to be disputed or proven to be untrue. Because how do you prove that gossip is untrue? How do you prove that people didn't do what they're alleging that the leadership of the EFF did? It's not an intention to necessarily hamper the EFF or expose the EFF's inability to perform its core mandate of either governance or assisting our people who are struggling in South Africa. It's literally an attack on the morality of the leadership of the EFF, and its intention is to cast aspersions on our ability to be morally a guide to our people in South Africa.
All right. Your letter of demand has been rejected by Pauw and the publishers. What happens next?
Look, we're going to pursue and explore all legal avenues that we can have at our disposal. We've received the rejection, and we're considering a way forward in terms of how we're going to proceed and ensure that the baseless allegations which are made in Jacques Pauw's books from the unverifiable witnesses are rejected and are taken off the shelves, because we cannot have in the history books of South Africa or on the shelves of South Africa a recollection of such low base, petty gossip being presented as fact by someone who has an ability to concoct lies whenever he has a glass of brandy.
Here's a question. I mean, cash, booze, condoms, as you say, this puts the leaders of your party in a very bad light. Why threaten action when, in fact, we've got very clear libel and defamation laws in South Africa? Why not just sue the author and the publisher for all they've got?
Look, unlike Jacques Pauw, we consider the ability of a person to be given an opportunity to either reply or retract things that they have done. So that basic journalistic tenet that he does not have, ironically, we have been able to afford to him as human beings, that we give him an opportunity to retract and apologize for what he has said. They have rejected that opportunity. So we are now going to pursue any punitive measures to ensure that legally this so-called book is removed from the shelves. So we gave him the opportunity to withdraw it the same way, because we know he has a lapse of judgment every now and again. He can write something and then apologize for it a day later. So we thought maybe let's give him another opportunity to apologize, just like he did about the waterfront. He's rejected that opportunity, and we'll pursue the legal avenues now.
But in fairness, I mean, much more is at stake here than, your kindness to Jacques Pauw. But let me ask you this question. As he says, Mazzotti has admitted to paying money to politicians. He's admitted to SARS, any number of crimes, bribery, fraud, tax evasion. How do you explain your leader's continued association with this unsavory person?
Look, if Adriano Mazzotti is guilty of the crimes that he is supposedly confessed to, then law enforcement agencies will take their course, SARS will take its natural course, and all investigative entities of South Africa will do what is necessary to do so. And we don't necessarily speak on behalf of him as well. And who the president and commander-in-chief chooses to associate with that has not been convicted of anything is up to him. So we don't see anything necessarily nefarious about the relationship between them. And if there were such a thing, the leadership of the EFF would consider it and approach him about it. But as things stand, there's no concrete evidence or concrete judicial conclusion or legislative or investigative conclusion that has confirmed that Adriano Mazzotti is necessarily such a nefarious person. So we don't have any interest in the personal relationships that our leaders have with certain people, so long as they do not harm either the image of the party or do not harm the interests of South Africans in general.
All right, Snawa Tambo, appreciate your time, the EFF's national spokesperson. Jacques Pauw, I'll give you the last word on this. You've heard what the EFF has had to say. You're peddling gossip, you're peddling lies, you're somebody whose judgment sometimes lapses. You should not be believed.
Well, the EFF might succeed in removing the book from the shelves this afternoon. This is not the only evidence against Julius Malema. As I said, we all know about his complicity in sharing in the stolen funds at the VBS Bank. That's virtually unchallenged. We know about his complicity in the on-point shenanigans in the Limpopo province in 2012, around there. We know about his complicity in not paying his taxes to SARS. And, you know, when he says that Mzoti has not been convicted of any crime, he's absolutely right. And the only reason why Mzoti has not been convicted of any crime is because the police is in the state it is. Mzoti has made an affidavit on the 6th of May, 2014, in which he admits his guilt in a host of crimes. And maybe if the EFF of Julius Malema wants that affidavit, I will send it to them.
All right.
There is nothing secret about the crimes of Adriano Mzoti any longer.
Jacques, we're going to have to leave it there. Appreciate your time. The book is called Our Poisoned Land, and it's on the shelves, at least for now.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.